coming out tonight. I'm Amy. I am the president of the board for Think Chinatown, which is who we are here. And I just want to introduce Yin Kong, who's our executive director in the back. For those of you who don't know Think Chinatown, we are a nonprofit based here in Manhattan, Chinatown. We work at the intersection of the arts, storytelling, and community engagement. This is our Chinatown studio, almost 100% renovated, so that we can host amazing events here of all different kinds. I think we're at the halfway mark for our Chinatown Arts Fest, which has been running all of October. If you don't have one of those brochures, we have them outside, and you can see there's still some events that are left. Yesterday we had puppetry on Pell Street. Today we have the Chen Dance, and later on this week we're going to have a program on traditional Chinese opera. We'll have also a workshop on fermentation, or pickling vegetables. So lots going on. And I just want to say that this is really a labor of love, like a lot of the arts is in Chinatown and elsewhere. And it's a really tough time right now for the arts. But we forge ahead because it's important. It's important for us as a community and for us as a world to be able to share our stories and to create good things in the world. Part of what we do in addition to the arts is we do a lot of community engagement and community programs. We also have this brochure out here. It's called How to Chinatown, and it's the first in the series of promoting businesses and promoting all the things that we love in Chinatown. This first series is on tofu, and it is about many of the tofu shops in Chinatown that make tofu fresh every day. A lot of people think of Chinatown as being cheap goods or cheap food, but the tofu makers are artisanal. So we have a video online, and we also have of some of the tofu makers, and also some of our aunties and uncles who will show you some recipes with fresh tofu. So go to thinkchinatown.org, and you can find the video there. You can pick up this brochure. It has a nice little poster in the middle and a guide to 5 of the artisanal tofu shops that are here in Chinatown. So tonight is a very special evening for us because HT Chen was a longtime friend of mine, and I know a longtime friend of many of you. And I think in the 1980s, I was working at Dance Theater Workshop, and I first encountered HT and the company that was performing there. I was a lowly intern, and I thought, wow, there is this choreographer that's Chinese American and creating work that, resonates with me and reflects, my community and my history. And I think that was one of the first times that I'd encountered something like that. Years later, I ran a traditional Chinese dance school and company here in Chinatown. And in the dark of the night, HT and I would always have conversations about how hard it was, and we would concoct plans on how to make it better, how to make the community better. There was, at one point, we even talked about merging our companies. So, a very long history. And then about 20 years ago, HT worked with me and a bunch of others in Chinatown on a project called Create in Chinatown. And actually, Create in Chinatown, Inc. is the legal 501c3 name for Think Chinatown. So Create in Chinatown was actually an idea that in the aftermath of 9/11, could we actually all get together and build a cultural center for Chinatown? In the end, we did a lot of work on it, and in the end, I think the real estate was just so daunting in Chinatown that it didn't come to fruition. But I really feel like Think Chinatown, which is now the legal DBA of Create in Chinatown, has created this space and has created programs in Chinatown. And so in some ways, it had its roots in some of those crazy nighttime conversations that I had with HT, with Bob Lee, with other people in the community. So again, the arts are important, and we have to forge ahead, and we have to really work hard to make sure that it continues to exist and to thrive in our community. After 70 Mulberry Street had the devastating fire that burned down Chen Dance Center. We also, I think Chinatown worked really hard with you, Dion, and with HT and other people who were in that building to make sure that the city rebuilt and that they didn't tear down that historic building. So I feel like having Dion and HT here with us tonight is really also coming full circle. And we really are excited to know that that building will be rebuilt. And and I know Dion will share some of that with us. And we're really looking forward when it is rebuilt that we'll partner with you and have programs there as well as here. And part of what we've been doing also is we've been working with the city on the Percent for Art project for the new 70 Mulberry Street. And so we've been working with the artist Jennifer Wen Ma, who's been selected to and commissioned to create the artwork for the new 70 Mulberry Street. So things are happening. It's very exciting. Some of you may have seen we have like some wine outside. When we were planning this evening, we always have snacks and drinks. And I said, well, we have to have wine because it's HT. So I hope that after the program, you'll stay, mingle, raise a glass to HT, and I'm going to hand it over now to Dion, who will tell us more about HT, who really was before his time, really ahead of his time, and a real pioneer. And as much as we push forward and make sure the arts exist, I want to make sure that we push forward and make sure that HT's legacy continues.
It's so wonderful to be back in the community and see all of you, and also to share the history of HT and how he had the guts to really pioneer in 70 Mulberry Street. Because when we moved in, there were three homeless guys on the second floor with their mattresses, and it was really scary. With peeling asbestos paint falling, it was just like unbelievable. But we pioneered and we stuck it out, and we will rebuild. So right now, we're just going to see a little video of HT, and then we will begin present some of his works. Thank you.
You starting, right? 1, 2, 3. Camera. My name is HT Chen. I'm founder and the artistic director of Chen Dance Center.
A lot of people discuss about my piece, blending or mimicking or combining. I always thinking like my work like two trends. One trend come from here, one trend from here, and each trend they have their own voice, own sound when they move. But the 1, 2 trend meet together, they create a new sound. So that sound is a new sound, original sound come out. So that is usually how I describe my work where it comes from and how to build.
The first piece was because I was working with a sculptor doing a set for Lemon Moon. Sitting there, spending days kind of timing the flow of the sand so that we could make sure that the moon rose at the same time as the dance was happening. We're all sitting there like,
How much sand now?
Community building is like, peeling the onion. I mean, it's layers within layers, micro communities and macro communities. And when we started the Asian Arts Partners, we tried to figure out how can we get people, artists, to and from these centers in Asia, get the people in the region moving around more, get organizers and artists talking to each other. I've looked at them as partners in sort of our own kind of pilgrim's progress through this field since the early 1970s. I mean, it's a highly personal relationship. I mean, HT has been a long-time board member of mine, as an artist member of the board of directors here, and it's been critical to the way I've thought about things. They've left a major imprint, right? You know, and I feel like I've been the subject, and HT and Dion have been calligraphing on my back, you know, indelibly.
Rise of the Phoenix. That's my favorite. Diana is such a gorgeous dancer. It is like air and water. Everything that I ever wished in my heart from them, there it was on the stage. 25 years of Chen Dancers here. It is what Lamama is. And this is their house, their home. And they know that. They know that it is.
Okay, thank you. So we are part of La Mama Chinatown. That's what Ellen called us, and Pan Asian Repertory. And from La Mama Chinatown, we actually started pioneering at 70 Mulberry Street. At the time, PS23 was abandoned, and so we ended up on the second floor where there were 3 homeless guys with their mattresses. And we really, there was peeling asbestos paint coming down, and we actually just spent all the time trying to restore the space so that it could be used for classrooms and rehearsals and ultimately performances, because we actually did have a black box theater. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about HT's background, because not everybody knows this. He was born in Shanghai and raised in Taiwan, and he was trained in traditional dance and Chinese opera movements at the University of Chinese Culture. He began as an architect major, but he couldn't take the longhand math. And so he sat by the window and kept opening it up a little higher and higher. And when the teacher turned the back, he climbed out the window and he went to the dance department and registered there. But when the parents found out that he had actually joined the dance program, they kicked him out. So he rented a little room in the attic of some lady's house, and he continued his studies. While he was at college, because very few Chinese male were in the department, you can count on 2 fingers, they asked him to actually accompany the Martha Graham dance company that was touring throughout Taiwan. They needed someone to help with logistics, make sure they just checked in the hotel okay and find the rent, whatever. So he traveled with the company, and he was amazed because he said, what they're doing on stage looks just like Chinese dance and martial arts. And then he heard Martha Graham make a speech. He said, I took from your culture and I made it my own. So he said, okay, he needs to find out more about modern dance. And that's how he came to the US. So HT comes to the US, and he basically had to make a living, of course, to pay for his lessons or whatever. He lived in the South Bronx with Li Taishan. You know who Li Taishan is? He's an amazing composer from Taiwan, and there was another artist from Taiwan. And he basically would walk, go to classes, and then walk all the way to Chinatown, and he was working as a delivery boy from Chinatown, delivering food to Wall Street. But he was from Taiwan, and he had never seen snow before. And he didn't even have a coat, no gloves, no hat, no boots. But that was his first year. He really worked hard and really was so passionate about learning dance. So the next spring, I met HT during his audition when he auditioned for Juilliard's dance department. As the only Chinese in the dance department at the time, I was asked to be his interpreter, and even though we didn't speak the same dialect, they assumed that I could help them. And then it was really hard because we were like pantomiming and trying to tell each other what was going on, and it took all of my time, like every evening, every afternoon, every weekend. But after a while, we sort of fell in love and we became partners for life. And the next thing you know, fast forward several years, we were together transforming the former PS23 on 70 Mulberry Street. It was a cultural center with dance studios, piano rooms, changing rooms, an office, and a theater. And we actually ultimately served 500 community children a week, either at PS42 or in classes at our center. And HT created a repertory of works on Chinese in the Americas through oral histories as we traveled across the US. We went to Angel Island and we talked to the seniors in the West Coast. He was so impressed when he saw the Chinatown seniors wearing placards and protesting the union. He was shocked, like, I thought America was a land of freedom. Why is everyone unhappy? And so he got his first civic lesson about what it was meant to be Chinese American. And of course later on, he actually does pieces about these things. And so you all know that 70 Mulberry Street became destroyed in the fire in 2020, and in 2022, HT passed away. But nevertheless, Chen Dance Center continues to carry on. My older daughter and I, Eli, she really is a jack of all trades. She can do many things. She was HT's right-hand man in a way, and we have continued maintaining the company and education outreach to children, performances, touring to Massachusetts, Connecticut, throughout New York State, citywide, Tennessee, Mississippi. I mean, we've just really worked really hard because we're displaced, we cannot stop. And you don't see us because we have to keep moving. There's no place in Chinatown. I cannot afford commercial rent. So now we're really thankful for our artists for being such good sports because they travel everywhere with us. And now we're actually going to have them come out and demonstrate. So dancers, please come. So dancers are going to do some movements from our warm-up. And they're going to do something called push mountain exercise. And it's not the literal Tai Chi movement, it's adapted. HT adapted it for his own company. So in the dancer's mind, they're pressing away a heavy mountain. They're creating resistance, and they're shifting the weight and squashing a mountain down to the floor, or like Atlas, picking up something very heavy. At the same time they're doing this, they're trying to coordinate the breath and shift the weight. And it's very meditative. You can do this with us from the seat if you want. Pressing away an imaginary mountain, creating resistance, squashing it down to the floor. And so this exercise has a lot of flow in it, and we call this yin energy. Soft and flowing. But opposite of yin energy is yang energy for the martial arts. That was the horse dance exercise, and the dancers can stop galloping horses by pulling up, and then do a one-hand push mountain. And when they scan the horizon, they can then whip around and mount the horse again. And the dancer is going to stay there because in the old days when you did this, the master would make it really hard for you. He would put a plank of wood here, a pot of heavy water, and then go meditate. And even if your nose was itchy, you can't drop the pot of water. So relax. So yin and yang are, the opposites. And you don't want to have too much yin or too much yang. You really always want to find a good balance. So we're going to have the dancers just do a balance. Okay? So just by being very calm and trying to find a balance, that's the most easy, basic way. Oh, they're showing off and taking, okay. And so there are other kinds of balances they can play with. They can work with a partner and find counterbalance when they use leverage, someone else's weight. They can do back to back, face to face, high level balance, low level balance, all the ways to counterbalance. And are you guys able to do something with all four together? Oh, another kind of balance. Oh, now they're showing off. Okay. Whoa. Looks like fun. It is fun. Okay. Okay. So let's do upside down dance. Woo! Okay, all the way to upside down and dance. Great, thank you. Okay, now in modern dance we like to be off balance, and that propels us through the space in different ways. Sideways, low level, high level, all the ways to be off balance. Great. And last but not least, we need to be balanced in the air when we do a lift. And this is actually a Chinese word. It looks like the word king, right? And it's moving. And we have a show called 8 Strokes in the Moving Word, where we perform these pieces for children. Thank you. So you may have noticed that when the dancers were doing the balances, they were very quiet because they didn't want to fall off balance. So now they're going to make some noise. They're going to do 13 sounds from Chinese off movements, and it sounds like this. Ready? And go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And the exclamation point. So we're going to have the dancers do a little bit faster. A little faster. 5, 6, ready, go. For fun, we're going to have the dancers do it much, much faster. So you have a choice. You can either close your eyes to listen, or if you want to open your eyes, that's fine. So dancers, on your marks, get set, go! Woo! Okay, thank you. So before we show you some of these pieces, I just want to talk about the distinguishing characteristics of modern dance. So you'll be seeing these in HT's choreography. So the distinguishing characteristics are planar organization, dissonance, fragmentation, weight, and asymmetry. And this is interesting because when you think about classical ballet, ballet is always harmonious and balanced. Right arm and the left arm, okay. Everything is very balanced and soft and harmonious. But in modern dance, these very strong actions, planar organization, these actually come from Chinese opera movements and Chinese martial arts. Well, why? Why does American modern dance look like that? That's because Ruth St. Denis and Ted Shawn, who were the pioneers of American modern dance, they traveled to the Orient and they learned all the different dances and brought back the musicians, whatever instruments, and they came and did the whole vaudeville tour throughout the US, performing Oriental dances with the silk robes and, so the exotic dances they brought back. But they also had a school. And who else was studying at the school? Martha Graham was the student. And then out of Martha Graham came Morris Cunningham, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why we have the same kind of distinguishing characteristics. Modern dance has the same characteristics as Chinese dance and Chinese martial arts. We're going to have an example of planar organization, and I have Plana and Sabasa show the opening the gate marches, and the 1, and the 2, and the 3, and the 4, and the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they're very planarly organized, and they're walking down a very narrow corridor. 7, 8, and 9. Thank you. Okay, we have another example. Ben and Kara are going to show us something from Hidden Voices, where they're traveling down a very narrow corridor. And you have to imagine that there's a wall right here, and then there's another wall right here, and there's another wall right here. And they're going to try to travel down narrow corridors. Ready? And go. Okay, thank you. So now we have an example of dissonance. So dissonance is like in modern music when you hear like grating sound or something you can rung out. So Glenn is going to show us a little bit from opening the gates. Glenna. So you may have noticed also there was fragmentation because we will have break at the wrist, break in the leg, in the ankle, and we also use asymmetry and the use of weights. And let's see. Okay, so now we're going to see some slides. The dancers are going to prepare for the next piece. We're going to look at a slide on the screen. This lithograph from 1870 is North Adams, Massachusetts, and here you see the Berkshire Mountains in the back, and steeple tops and homes, and in the front you see factory buildings. So North Adams, Massachusetts was very famous for shoe manufacturing, and as a matter of fact, all the shoes in the U.S. used to be made in North Adams, Massachusetts for the whole USA. But the next slide shows that there was actually a problem. What happened was, do you see the machines? Okay, it was the time of Industrial Revolution. Big machines were brought into the factory so that instead of handcrafted shoes and boots, which would take maybe a week to make a pair of boots, you could use these machines to cut the leather, to sew, stitch the leather, and so you can make 3 pairs of boots in one day rather than take a whole week to make a pair. And what happened was, that meant less work hours for the local workers. And that meant less pay for the local workers. So they went on strike. They said, forget it, I quit because this is not fair. I'm producing more, but you're paying me less. So when the factory shut down, the factory owner didn't know what to do, but he heard that Chinese workers had just finished building the transcontinental route. They were really efficient and really skilled, and now they're unemployed. Hey, he sent for 75 Chinese to travel by train on the same route they helped build, and when they arrived in North Adams, they were supposed to stay with different families, but there's a problem. The local workers knew they were coming, and so an angry mob went to the train station to greet them. And so the factory owner didn't know what to do, so he quickly took all the Chinese off his train and quickly herded them into the factory and locked the gates for their safety. But inside the factory, there were no beds, so they had to clear off the shelves as temporary sleeping quarters. And the next slide shows them learning how to use those huge machines. So it's not automated, it's not like a little laptop you touch. I mean, we've got huge machines. You see the gears and rows of workers. And do we have one more image? Yes. Now they're hammering on the heels and dyeing the shoes. And one more image is everyone is wearing work aprons, and you're going to see it in the next piece. They were proudly standing outside the factory building. These buildings are now the Museum of Contemporary Arts, Mass MoCA in North Adams. We will now have, is that the last slide? Yes, okay. So we will now have a little demonstration. Glenna is dressed as a Chinese worker wearing an apron, and she's going to demonstrate this theme where she has hammering and grabbing and turning the dials and grab it one more time. So she grabs a lever, grabs another lever, lifts up, hammers down, and she turns the dial, and pull. And why is she making the feet go like this? Because in those days, a lot of machines, the sewing machines had a foot pedal. So this is one of the themes from the dance. And now there's going to be a little struggle. The apron will represent the job, and a local worker and a Chinese worker are going to struggle over who gets the job. Uh-oh, let's see what happens. So will it be the local worker or the Chinese worker? I don't know. Uh-oh. Okay, so Glenna got it this time. Thank you. All right, I think we're ready to show you an excerpt from Hidden Voices. Hidden Voices is actually a full-length piece, but we're only going to show you 5 minutes of it. It also had a cast of 26 people. We're not going to show you 26 dancers here. So they're pre-setting the stage, and every night, the Chinese workers would carefully fold their work aprons and set out their rice bowls so that they were ready for the next day. But in this story, this is a fictitious story. In this story, HT imagined that one local worker was jealous and decides to break in that night to cause trouble. So let's see what happens. whoever got the apron got the job. But in the end, what happened, they actually threw away the aprons and they made a circle of unity. Because after 3.5 years of the labor strike, everybody was given a contract. The local workers were hired back, the Chinese workers were given contracts, and North Adams remained the shoe capital of the nation for another 90 years until the 1960s. And that's a true story. And if you go to North Adams now, those very buildings are mass smoked up. So we are now going to talk about the sewing garment factory. So HT, one of his first jobs when he got to the US was to choreograph for the ILGWU Local 2325. And they were very amused and thought, well, you mean a Chinese guy is actually a choreographer? He's a modern dancer? They thought it was very amusing. And he choreographed for the chorus, so they didn't have to just stand there and sing. And HT got to know them, and he felt really moved by their stories. So, and also he was moved when he saw a lot of senior citizens wearing placards and demonstrating in Chinatown, and he was shocked, like, wait, I thought this is the land of freedom, why aren't people happy? And he didn't understand that it was a labor strike against the union. So anyway, he choreographed a piece, a full work called Mott Street, and one of the sections was called Needle and Thread. So we're going to demonstrate, show you just one of the sections.
I'd like to get but got to work.
needle and thread, needle and thread. Aya, aya, needle and thread, needle and thread. Aya, aya, needle and thread, needle and thread.
When I was young, I dressed like please.
Needle and thread, needle and thread.
Now I'm a woman with a baby on my knee.
Needle and thread, needle and thread. Aya, aya, needle and thread, needle and thread. Aya, aya, needle and thread, needle and thread. So that was an excerpt from a larger work called Mulberry Street. It had several sections in it. This is one section that is really dear to our hearts. And you know, many of the garment workers, they sent their children to our school. So we really felt so close to them because we always talked to them to find out what was going on. And this was really HT's passion to really honor the citizens of Chinatown. So we're going to close our program with a celebration dance to wish everyone a happy coming New Year. And we're going to use a farm tool, a flat carrying stick called a biandan. But rather than having a burden on your shoulders to carry, we've taken the baskets off the end and decorated the edge with red fabric to wish you good luck and wish you happiness. Enjoy.
I don't know about you, but I feel HT is in the house. HT was our board member, and to really feel him in the spaces really moves me. So thank you all. Fantastic. A next generation and us older folks. I'd like to open up to the floor if anybody has any questions, like Dion or any of the dancers. And Yeely, come on. Tell us about hiding. I had one question for you, Dion. I wanted you to tell the story about how you got to be in 70 Mulberry Street. Weren't you? You were on tour, right?
Oh my God. Okay. So when HT was starting off as a choreographer, we weren't eligible to receive any grants. So he would borrow, $200 for this person, and $400 for this person, and $500 for this one, and $100 for. We owed everybody money. We couldn't look them in the eye. And I was like, we need it. So I took a job, and I was teaching dance somewhere in Vermont. And I would put coins into the machine just to call him once a week. And he told me that he found this amazing space. Can he send me my first month's rent? I would pay. I said, well, I'm okay, fine. So next week, the same thing. Just keep asking me to send my paycheck so that I can. So anyway, I got here, and he took me into 70 Mulberry Street, and there were 3 homeless guys with a mattress there. It was just peeling paint off the walls, right? Unbelievable. And he said, "Isn't this fantastic?" I was like, HT, and he goes, "Oh, in half an hour the children are coming." What children? Oh, Chinatown, some kind of organization. They were sending their kids, summer camp there. Okay, and just unbelievable craziness. But over time, we were able to transform it and clean up the space and really create a home for the arts in Chinatown, because there was no theater in Chinatown. And we welcomed other artists to come and rehearse and present their works. And we had up to 500 students every week on our heyday. But of course, there was the fire, and HT died of a broken heart because the building burned down. But that's really how we got started.
I think one of the stories I heard was you were on tour also with the King and I, and he would call you up and say, "Send me your paycheck." So we don't really have to just thank HT, but really to thank you, Dion. Yeah. Does anyone ever have other questions? Yes.
So we saw excerpts of your work. When will there be a full production that we can go to?
Okay, please come to La Mama right before the Chinese New Year. We're doing the Big Brother. It's a major work by HT in 2006, I think, and it's 2009. Okay, and it's so relevant to what's happening to us in America. So we're working hard to do this. Bernard is also going to be in the show. I know too. And then we're also going to be doing an excerpt from Hidden Voice that you saw the excerpt of today, but with a fuller cast. And then we're also going to be doing excerpts from our HT's version of the Lion Dance. So that's January 29th through February 1st. That's what's going on.
How do we get a ticket?
Okay, so if you're on a mailing list or you want to, or you're not on a mailing list, email us, and so we have your email, and we'll let you know, because Mama has not set the prices yet, but we're going to actually have discounts for the Chinatown community, and you need the code to get the discount.
There are cards outside.
Yes, there are cards outside, but it doesn't have the ticket price or, not yet. But anyway, the code is not printed on that either. So through email, we'll let our people know. Yes?
Thank you very much, everybody, for truly a very beautiful performance. I think he will perform before, and the kind of music that will always stay in my mind. I don't think once you hear it, I don't think you can ever forget it. It's so powerful in different ways. I really also love the first piece that we did about the North Adams shoe factory. And I guess I was wondering, there's always a story behind the story. How did you, HT, discover that story to begin with? Because as you say, back then the internet wasn't around and all that.
Right, so this Williams College and the Berkshire Cultural Council invited us to come and do residency, and they wanted us to do a piece about Chinese in the area. So we looked around and there were no Chinese people. And there's one Chinese takeout place, and they didn't know anything about the history. So we even marched around all these cemeteries, and we found out there were Chinese who helped build the railroad or whatever, but they could not be buried locally. All the bones were shipped back to China, right? So how could we do this piece? So eventually we found the story, and we were really moved by it, and that's how we created Hidden Voices. But it took a lot of research to develop it. Anything else? Yes?
Thank you. Beautiful presentation. I'd love to know who composed the music?
Oh, okay. Hidden Voices was Joe Long, Dr. Joe Long. Let's see. And down was Cha Bao-an and Brad House. And what else did we do? Charlie Chin wrote, you know, Needle and Thread. It was a suite of dances.
From Mott Street, okay.
Yeah, Mott Street.
Thank you.
Any more questions or no? Well, let's party then. Thank you all for coming. Great to see you here again. Please, there's some snacks and some drinks. I want to give a shout out to some OGs like Barbara Ho here, who was with the State Arts Council. Gave the earliest funding to probably to Chen Dancers and to a lot of groups that I work with. And Renard, a beautiful dancer who danced with HT. And so yeah, let's get together and let's make art in the community. Renard.
Will the dancers introduce themselves?
Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Tsubasa. I'm from Japan. My name meaning is wings, so I love jump.
My name is Bende Andrade. I'm not going to jump, but I'm really happy to be a part of HT Chen Dance Company.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Anwar. Very happy to be here. Thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Guana Yu. I've been with the company since 2018 and just so grateful to be part of this group and part of this legacy.
Hi, my name is Ely. Thank you all, and thank you to Think for hosting us.
So we hope to see you again often. Thank you so much. And you know, again, Chinatown Arts Fest continues. And I also want to point out the big painting in the back by another cultural pioneer in our community, Arlen Huang. And you know, there are a lot of cultural pioneer spirits in here today. And you know, I hope you will also become cultural pioneer spirits too. So thank you all. Good night.